Welcome back. Now let's take a look at some business news. Here's Melinda Akinlami.
You first. First Bank.
Many thanks, Ijoma. Welcome to Business News. The Minister of State for Petroleum, Dr. Ibe Kachuku, has given the military a pat on the back for reducing attacks on oil facilities in the Niger Delta region without a strong use of force. He was speaking in an exclusive interview with Bloomberg Television in London. Nigeria's Deputy Oil Minister says the steady attacks on oil export assets like Forcados has had a negative impact in the oil and gas sector, as investors are now shying away from putting their monies in. He believes that oil prices at $60 a barrel is good news for Nigeria as the country stays on course with a higher benchmark pricing for next year's budget at $42.50 per barrel. And talking about oil prices, let's check out how they fared on a Monday. They surged by 6.5% to an 18-month high after OPEC and other oil producers over the weekend reached their first deal since 2001 to jointly reduce output to tackle global oversupply and boost prices. Brent crude futures rose 2.5% to $55.66 per barrel. That's after hitting a peak of $57.89, and that is highest since July 2015. On Saturday, producers from outside OPEC, led by Russia, agreed to reduce output, although it's not quite hit the mark, but it remains the highest contribution ever by a non-OPEC member. The Debt Management Office plans to sell 95 billion naira at its last auction for the year, and that's about $302 million worth of bonds. Using the Dutch auction system, the agency will sell 35 billion naira of the bond maturing in 2036, 25 billion naira of the bond maturing in 2026, and 35 billion naira of the bill maturing in 2021. The Debt Management Office offered the same amount on all three tenors at its auction in November, but sold only 39 billion naira. Successful bids were allotted at the marginal rates of 15.48%, 15.98% and 15.94% respectively. In the United States, equities traded mixed on Monday as Treasury yields spiked ahead of a key Federal Reserve meeting. For details, here is Jill Malandrino, VOA Channels TV business correspondent in New York.
Hitting highs again in the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Averages, and this is thanks to oil trading at its highest level since July 2015, following Saudi Arabia introducing more cuts. The other big news this week is going to be the Fed's interest rate decision on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. It's priced in at 95% according to the CME Group FedWatch tool that we are going to get that 25 basis point hike, but we could see some volatility around that hitting the tape because they're also going to put out their dot plots, which is data that the Fed follows, as well as their economic projections for 2017. Finally, we had some Trump tweets over the weekend regarding cost of defense spending here in the U.S. Stocks like Boeing, stocks like Lockheed Martin have been hit. So we're going to continue to see what happens in the aerospace group. From the NASDAQ market site in Times Square, New York City, I'm Jill Malandrino, and this is VOA Channels Business TV.
Financial markets in Nigeria are closed today for the holiday, but traders in other parts of the world open for business. Now let's take a look at how they performed on Monday. Let's hope the numbers will be more green tomorrow. IJ, it's back to you. That's Business News. I'm Melinda Akinlami.
You first. First Bank.
Indeed, Melinda, thanks a lot. Shell Nigeria says it's supporting research into clean energy generation that will help tackle Nigeria's power challenges. At the anniversary of Africa's first kinetic solar-powered pitch at the Federal College of Education, Akoka, Lagos, the Human Resources Director of Shell Nigeria Exploration and Production Company, Obinna Anaba, said the pitch is a testimony to great ideas. In attendance were other officials of Shell Nigeria and one of the Make the Future campaign ambassadors, Nigerian singer Yemi Alade.
Improving the lives of communities and countries with cleaner energy is why Shell Nigeria built Africa's first human and solar-powered football pitch at the Federal College of Education Technical, Akoka, Lagos. 1 year down the line, authorities at Shell Nigeria and representatives of the host, as well as the company's Make the Future campaign ambassador, Yemi Alade, are here to evaluate the impact of the project.
This speech remains a great testament to what we can all achieve if we work together to encourage and support innovations and bright ideas that can help in the global quest for more and cleaner energy. Shell's continuing support to the search for smart energy solutions as Nigeria's and the world's population grows with the inevitable increase in the demand for energy.
Almost all the institutions around us come to use this pitch. Even people come from the University of Lagos, Gambia College of Technology, and virtually all the secondary schools around this area.
Boosting the campaign for cleaner energy will require new innovations and bright ideas.
It is not just about the solar pitch, it's about the ideas that can create the solutions that will help the trader in Idumota or the cattle rearer in Borno State.
And now to the field of play to see how activities on the kinetic pitch generates power for the floodlights.
But when you hear that your footsteps can power the lights that you need to play at any time of the day, I think personally as a football lover, someone who plays, if you love that, you definitely will be encouraged.
Creating and accessing cleaner and sustainable energy is not just about the kinetic pitch in Lagos. The gravity light, another innovation, is already going across 50 communities in Kenya, where almost 80% live with no access to electricity.
And outside the continent, President-elect Donald Trump has been reacting to U.S. intelligence claims of Russian hackers meddling in the U.S. election. In a recent tweet, he said, "Can you imagine if the election results were the opposite and we tried to play the Russia-CIA card? It would be called a conspiracy theory." Mr. Trump also questioned why the allegations were not widely made public before the election. The FBI said in October that it believed Russia was behind the Democratic Party hacks. But on Friday, the CIA went further by concluding Russia's motive was to help Mr. Trump. The Gambia's Electoral Commission chief has warned President Yahya Jammeh that his bid to overturn the election result will not change the fact that he lost to property developer Adama Barrow. Aliu Muammar Njai says the election results were correct and nothing will change that. Mr. Jammeh said on Saturday that he had challenged his defeat at the Supreme Court.
By annulling the elections.
Gambia's President Yahya Jammeh has been accused of behaving like a dictator and not giving way to democracy by challenging the election result. Jammeh lost the election to opposition candidate Adama Barrow, which was announced by the Election Commission last week and followed by his rapid concession. His loss to opposition candidate Adama Barrow, announced by the Elections Commission last week and followed by his rapid concession, had sparked hope for change in the tiny West African nation following 22 years of Jammeh's authoritarian rule. In a statement broadcast on state television late on Saturday, the Alliance for Patriotic Reorientation and Construction said it was preparing a legal challenge to the result. Head of the People's Progressive Party, Omar Jallow, which backed Barrow in the election, said Jammeh's actions were nothing more than a coup.
The Gambian constitution requires that we hold our elections through an independent electoral commission. And we are fortunate that this independent electoral commission, some of the members were members of this commission appointed by Yahya Jammeh for the last 15 years. The 4 or 3 elections won by Jammeh, through the election that was supervised by the same people in the commission.
Meanwhile, many Gambians were cheering President-elect Adama Barrow in the capital Banjul the day after President Yahya Jammeh said he no longer recognized the election results. Jammeh's belated objections to the poll results followed a correction by the Elections Commission this week, which reduced Barrow's margin of victory to fewer than 20,000 votes. International criticism of Jammeh came in fast. Following the United Nations and Senegal, the African Union on Saturday weighed in, calling Jammeh's statement null and void. The European Union has also called for a peaceful transfer of power. The United Nations and African Union has also piled pressure on Jammeh to step aside. Senegal, which has Gambia's only land border and once sent troops there during the coup, has called for an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council and solemnly warned Jammeh not to harm Senegal's interests or its citizens in the Gambia.
Next on the news at 10, Leicester City's Riyad Mahrez beats Yaya Toure to win BBC African Player of the Year award. That's all sports. Please stay with us.